All right, well, this video is for my friend Lesley, who asked for easy breakfast ideas. And I totally get that breakfast is one of those meals of the day where it's just like, oh my gosh, sometimes it's nothing. Sometimes it's, whip through the drive-through wherever you get your coffee and, it's something from there. Because we're busy in the morning, we're usually pretty rushed. We're often hitting snooze and we're sleep deprived and we might be craving things in the morning. Because if we are sleep deprived, we're going to be craving the bagels, the muffins, the croissant, the bowl of cereal. And what happens is we end up spiking our blood sugar with these traditional breakfast items. And then all day long, we're struggling with low energy. So we need a little bit something else to boost us up again. And then we're struggling all day long with this up and down blood sugar. Not a good way to be. We really like to keep things more stable. How can we do that? A great way to start your day, or whenever you choose to break the fast. I mean, some people are doing intermittent fasting and they're not eating until a little later. Fine. Whatever time you decide to break the fast, make that meal really count. They say breakfast is the most important meal of the day. It is. Just like our rituals set us up for each day, we can really choose to set ourselves up for the day with whatever meal we have first that's going to have us feeling really good to carry us through more of our day. So I always recommend to everybody that no matter what time of day they choose to break the fast or have breakfast, I encourage you to have a really healthy dose of protein. Now, I'm not prescriptive with how many grams. I just want to make sure that people are seeing a good amount of protein in their breakfast. So instead of the high carbohydrate foods that are very traditional breakfast foods, we're going to go a little bit different. Some aren't super different, like eggs are a great choice, and those are usually associated with breakfast time. But other things too that we can really start to boost our protein first thing in the day, which helps us to pull down those sugar cravings all day long. Like, you're not going to have the 9 o'clock at night sugar craving nearly as strong if you start your day with a really healthy source of protein. So what's protein? What am I supposed to make? How am I supposed to make this work? Anything from an animal. So any type of animal protein is protein. Eggs are protein. Dairy has protein. And then vegetarian sources like nuts and seeds and like hemp hearts are a really nice form of vegetarian protein. Of course, lentils and beans and legumes and chickpeas, kidney beans, that kind of thing. Those are all vegetarian sources of protein as well. So we've got lots. What I don't really love are these protein powders that are sold out there where people are making these morning smoothies. I'm happy to see people having something in the morning and great to have protein. But if we look at the ingredients on the package of protein powders, I mean, the list is longer than my arm. A lot of, chemicals in there, a lot of ingredients that I just don't want to put into my body. I'm really interested in putting real whole food ingredients into my body. Why? Because they leave me feeling so much more nourished. I'm feeling so much calmer. My tummy feels good. My energy's good. My brain fog's gone, right? I'm able to go and do the things that I need to do, and I'm not constantly having this chatter in my head about what I'm going to eat next or where that sugar is going to come from, like what I'm going to have at break time, and if I'm going to have the coffee with the cream and sugar or the special latte or something, or with the donut. I don't want any of those cravings, and so I do what I can to quell them. And a huge way to quell those cravings is with protein. So breakfast choices, what do we make? Well, first off, a super easy one that I recommend to people who hate to cook, hate to get things ready. Why don't you just have a few bites of last night's dinner? Usually we're dealing with some kind of protein source, maybe some vegetables. Great. That way we're getting some protein and some veggies first thing in the morning. My favorite way to start a day is with protein and veggies. And so you can do that. You can have that, that bit of salmon and broccoli that you had last night for dinner. Have some for breakfast. And we don't need tons of protein. When it comes to animal protein, 3 ounces, like a little thing. When you think of an 8-ounce steak, let's say, like cut that in half. That's 4 ounces. We only need 3 ounces of cooked meat to be a really, really generous amount of protein, about 21 grams of protein. That's a lot. That's great for somebody who's fairly active, who, wants that boost of protein. Again, I don't try to get too prescriptive. Talk to your people, do your research, decide how much protein, depending on how active you are, your age, your stage in life, what you're all about, and all of that. But all to say, I want you having protein at breakfast. So if not last night's dinner, because you're like, okay, well, that's not very exciting, or I don't want to have, it feels weird to have something like chicken or, beef or, lentils for breakfast, then that's okay. We can do other things. Eggs, always a really, really sure bet for me. I love having eggs I have them at different times of the day because I love having a morning smoothie, which I'll get to in a minute. But eggs are an amazing food. They're a whole complete source of protein. They've got tons of vitamins and minerals. You can literally make them a million different ways. You can make them ahead of time if you do hard boiled. There are those egg muffins that you can make that are great. And so if you're watching this and you want my recipe guide from my book, The 28-Day Kick the Sugar Challenge, let me know. I'm happy to share all of my recipes with you. And so egg cups are great. You can make them super easy if you eat deli meat, which isn't my favorite, but some people, what they do is they line the muffin tin with one little piece of like prosciutto or ham or roasted turkey or something. And then they pour, they just blend up eggs with a little bit of salt and pepper. You can add in a few herbs if you like, anything goes. Pour this mixture into each of these containers that are lined with this piece of meat, and maybe top with a little bit of cheese, bake them in the oven, and now you've got these egg cups that come out really easily, that are super tasty, super easy, and there's not a ton of scrubbing the tray, right? They're not all stuck. You do really have to coat the egg. If you're making egg muffins without this meat, which I usually do, I don't usually use the meat. I have to really grease the tin. I find that that's a really big, important step with those egg cups. Otherwise, they're prone to really sticking and you lose like half of them. But egg muffins are a really great breakfast option. You can look up all sorts of recipes online, decide the ingredients you like, and then you can put any veggies you want. Chopped peppers, chopped asparagus, mushrooms, tomatoes, anything that you want goes. Like really, think of a little mini omelet, if you will. And so you can get creative with those. You can make a whole bunch of them, and then you can freeze them and thaw them for when you need them. Another thing I like to make in big batches that I can then freeze, and then I can go ahead and thaw them, are my turkey breakfast sausages. They are delicious. Do they taste exactly like pork sausage when you go to the breakfast place? No, maybe not. But I really tweaked and played with this recipe for a while, and I love it. And I think they're delicious and tasty, and they give you that same feeling while being a lot lighter, a lot leaner, and just really, really nice source of protein that can be very grab and go. Very tasty, very easy to make, and then you can grab and go. Again, in my recipe guide that I'm happy to share with you. A smoothie is my favorite way, as you know, and instead of a protein powder, again, I just don't want all those ingredients. I want to have real whole food in my body as often as possible. I like hemp hearts. So these are, nothing to do with getting you high in any way. They are from the same plant as, they are from the cannabis plant, but they are not, there's no THC. There's nothing that's going to make you have any type of reaction that way. They are a vegetarian source of complete protein, which is really nice. And they also have a lovely amount of omega-3 fats, great for the brain. So I love hemp hearts in a smoothie. I use 5 tablespoons in my smoothie. And then I throw in some cucumbers and some celery and some spinach and some berries. And I blend that all up. And it's a delicious way to start the day with protein and vegetables. So often I find people get to the very end of the day and they haven't had a single vegetable yet. So I like to start my day with veggies. So my favorite breakfast is a smoothie. I don't recommend making them the night before. I'm sorry if you have now you're not going to be able to make a smoothie because it's loud with the blender in the morning and you've got people sleeping before you leave. maybe prepare everything in a magic bullet. And then, maybe you can plug it in your car and blend it in the car and then sip as you drive, or maybe go down to the basement. I have done that before with my magic bullet when traveling, and I have made my smoothies that way. But whatever you need to do, I'm hoping that a smoothie might work, because then it's really nice. If you are in a rush in the morning, you can drink it while you're on your commute. The other thing that I like to do is Greek yogurt. So plain organic Greek yogurt with nothing other than just the Greek yogurt in it. I like having that, and then adding in some, fresh berries, or you can make a little bit of like a jam simply by taking fresh or frozen berries, throwing them in a pot on the stove, squeeze a little bit of fresh lemon juice. This recipe also is in my book. It's called Easy Peasy Any Berry Jam, and it basically turns out like jam, and it's delicious, and there's no sugar added whatsoever. And then you can put a dollop of that on your Greek yogurt. I'd like to see you get about 3/4 of a cup, which is a really nice serving size, gives you about 19 grams of protein, which is lovely. And then you can add some nuts and seeds to give some texture and crunch if you like to. You can make those the night before, store them in mason jars, and then you can take that with you and have it as soon as you get to the office or to work or wherever you're headed. So that's another one that can be a kind of a grab and go. Another grab and go is something called overnight oats, and you can look up all sorts of healthy recipes for making overnight oats. I don't prefer oats because they don't do very well with me. They hurt my tummy. I feel a little bloated and gassy. I don't do very well with oats. So see how you do. And then, and if they work for you, great. There's not enough protein in just the oats. And if you're using a milk substitute, like an almond milk or a hemp milk or an oat milk or something, you definitely are going to want to pay attention to how much protein you are going to add on there. You might want to stir in some nut butter. You might want to add some nuts and seeds to sprinkle on the top. You definitely want to make sure that you boost the protein there. I'd recommend putting in a few tablespoons of hemp hearts and really mix those in really nicely. And overnight, everything's just going to become nice and combined. And the next day, super delicious with some fruit on top or whatever you like. So Google all sorts of recipes. I don't have that in my 28-day Kick the Sugar challenge because of oats, being such a high carbohydrate food. So you won't find that in my book, but all over the internet, you can find overnight oats. The other thing I like, I have eggs, smoothie, turkey breakfast sausages, Greek yogurt and berries, overnight oats, leftover dinner, which we've talked about. And then I also love these pancakes that you can make literally with 3 ingredients. It's also in my book, but basically these are made with either cottage cheese or Greek yogurt. The cottage cheese makes a thicker batter. The Greek yogurt makes a thinner batter, but they still both work the same way. So we're going to do a half a cup. And again, this recipe I can send to you, but a half a cup of either Greek yogurt or cottage cheese, 2 eggs, and then we're going to do a half a cup of oats. And so you're going to want the quick cooking ones because you're going to throw all of this into a blender or food processor. You're going to blend it up. That becomes your batter. Feel free to add a little cinnamon, little vanilla, little like any type of, you might want to put a pinch of salt in there, anything that you like. And then you're going to go ahead and pour that batter into a frying pan. You're going to get about 2 good-sized pancakes out of that. And that's a really nice breakfast. You can make a lot of these ahead of time and then freeze them between pieces of parchment paper and then throw them in the toaster to warm them up, or the toaster oven when you're in a rush in the morning. I like spreading mine with almond butter or with my Easy Peasy Any Berry Jam, my easy not even recipe jam, but feel free to use a little maple syrup. Just be mindful how many teaspoons that you're actually using, and just keep that in mind when you're calculating how many teaspoons that you've had at the end of the day. Kids, we want to see no more than 4 to 6 teaspoons as a max. Grown women are 6 teaspoons per day of added sugar, and men it's 9 teaspoons. And when we're adding maple syrup, that is adding sugar to our diet, right? It didn't happen naturally. It didn't occur naturally. The other thing that I like, what I think is one of the first ingredients in my recipe guide, is the breakfast burrito. A lot of people like this. It's easy to make. I even offer, even though I don't use a microwave, but I offer it as a microwave way of doing it in a mug, where you just whisk up a couple of eggs, you throw in some black beans, a few other quick ingredients, throw it in the microwave, done. You can, of course, also make it on the stove. But that's not a bad way to go too. Like something that's just really fast, really easy. And you could even make that ahead of time, like the night before, and then you've got that ready for the morning. You'd have to warm it up somehow. But you could also make it into, so I often eat this breakfast burrito without the burrito, or you can, so you can eat it that way, just out of the mug, or if you make it on the stove on a plate. Or you can pick up a really good quality wrap. I like Ezekiel wraps. Those are my favorite ones. They're sprouted grains. They're alive foods. I love that. And then you can really make a nice burrito. And that's something nice that you can take with you. Again, if you're kind of in a rush, I'd love to see you eating mindfully in the morning, but let's be realistic. We can't always. While you're driving to wherever you're headed in the morning, you can have your burrito while you're driving. So just a few thoughts. I hope these have helped. These are my favorite breakfast items. I do have some other recipes for quinoa porridge and a few other ideas. Again, I'm happy to share with you. If you want more suggestions, go to message me on Facebook or email me at sarah@sarahtalksfood.com, and I'm happy to send you the recipe guide to my book. So I hope this has served you, Lesley, and to anybody else who was wondering about, I know my friend Liz was also asking about easy breakfast options. I hope this video has served you. I love you. I'll see you next time. Bye for now.